Hello everyone, it's the latest installation of Stephen Follows Instructions, the series where I look at technology that I can find on the interwebs, usually open source technology, and try to follow the instructions that the authors provide for using that technology. Sometimes it's the developers of the technology. Other times it's just an instruction guide written by someone to help people with that technology. The history of this is mixed. Following these instructions often fails spectacularly, but sometimes it works. More often than not, it doesn't work. And it's not because this technology can't possibly be used. Obviously, some people make it work sometimes. It's just that within the constraints that I have, it's just not worth the effort to put into it. And I hit a point beyond which I just feel it's not feasible to continue. You'll see. So today, we're looking at something called Podman. And today I'm working right from the website itself. Found a reference to this from a Mastodon post where somebody talked about writing their own scripts for Podman. I thought that's kind of interesting, and I didn't want to get into that because I have no experience with Podman at all. But I thought, I have no experience with Podman at all, so why don't I explore this? And so that's what I'm going to do in this. I'm not sure how much I'll continue working on Podman, but I want to familiarize myself with it so that I can at least talk intelligently about it if the question should ever come up. What are the odds? Who knows? Anyhow, what is Podman? It's a replacement for Docker. It's a free and open source replacement for Docker. Okay, what is Docker? What Docker does is basically it allows you to build a virtual computer inside a computer. So here I am, I'm running a Windows desktop, right? Suppose I wanted to run an Apache server on Linux. Well, I'd run Windows, not Linux. So what Docker does is it allows me to build this virtual computer inside a box, a container, right? And inside that computer, I can run my Apache web server on Linux. And then I can access it just as though it were another computer. So, I can access the website, or I can manipulate files inside of it, so on. So Podman does the same sort of thing, right? It'll allow me to create containers that contain their own operating systems and their own specialized software. And again, the practicality here is a container can be all pre-configured, so I don't need to worry not only about the fact that I don't have Linux, but setting up Linux with all the libraries and other supports that it needs, installing Apache, installing a database, all of that, right? I don't need to worry about that. I can do all of that in the container and then just start up the container and not worry about it. It's a really handy technology to have, and it powers an awful lot of the stuff, probably most of the stuff that is offered on the cloud today. There's all kinds of reasons for that: scalability, convenience, ease of maintenance, and so on. And I use containers on the cloud myself quite a bit, actually, and quite a bit of the projects that I've had in the past, even in this series, have had to do with containers. Okay, so that's the warm-up. Broadcasting live on YouTube, because I love doing these live, because you never know what's going to happen. I don't advertise them, though, so my usual viewership is 0, and let me just check and see what my viewership is right now. It is, in fact, 0. But I do monitor the chat stream. So, of course, I'm telling this to nobody, so it's not really helpful. But, so, if somebody should drop by, I do have, 1,000, 1,500, whatever, subscribers on my YouTube channel. So, the notification has gone out to those who follow that I'm broadcasting live right now. So somebody might join me. Who knows? I also do bicycle videos, and I also do live gaming videos. So have a mixed audience. So, all right, let's explore Podman now. Again, also with this series, I don't look ahead. Not because I would think of that as cheating, although it is kind of, but because I like to capture the surprise, the first view experience. One day I may write a paper, author follows instructions or something like that, just to document what I've learned, recording these, first experiences like that. I also find the developers really like them as well, and I've gotten some very nice letters, emails from developers saying, or article writers saying, I really appreciated this feedback. It's so hard to get this kind of feedback. All right, too long an introduction, too little playing with the tech. All right, so Podman, the best free and open source container tools. And you now know what a container is, right? Manage containers, pods, and images with Podman. Seamlessly work with containers and Kubernetes from your local environment. Kubernetes is another story entirely. I don't want to get into it. I've done basically zero work in Kubernetes. I don't understand it. One day I'll learn it, but as long as it remains relevant. But for now, no. So, okay. So we've got a choice, get started or download. For someone like me, that's a challenge, right? Do I just download and start running it? Or do I click the get started button? Always a choice. Okay, let's click get started. Oh, installation instructions. Okay, so we're going to get there anyways. So basic resources, etc. So first things first, installing Podman. Okay, so let's follow the installations instructions. I'm sure they're really simple, although already with Mac, why does it begin with Mac? Install via brew. Okay, I'm glad I'm not using Mac. On Windows, each Podman machine is backed by a virtualized Windows subsystem for Linux, WSL v2 distribution. Once installed, the Podman command can be run directly from your Windows PowerShell or CMD prompt, where it remotely communicates with the Podman service running in a WSL environment. Alternatively, you can access Podman directly from the WSL instance if you prefer a Linux prompt and Linux tool. Okay, so I have WSL. I've dealt with this before. Where is it? It shows up as Ubuntu right here, right? So basically, Windows subsystem for Linux is a virtual machine in Windows that is a Linux machine. So that's how they're supporting it here. So see the Podman for Windows guide for setup gets its own, and then on Linux is just you just run a command and it installs. So it doesn't actually install on Windows, but there's a way to make it work. We are running Windows, so that's what I'll do. Okay, it throws me into this GitHub instructions. Gee, I thought it would be really simple. Glad I didn't just download it. Okay, well, containers are Linux. Podman also runs, okay, etc., etc. This guest is referred to as a Podman machine and is managed with the Podman machine command. Okay. All right, this is just repeating what we read before. Prerequisites. Since Podman uses WSL, you need a recent release of Windows. I have 11. On x64, WSL requires these builds. have it. WSL requires build of Windows or of WSL. I don't know. I am on a 64-bit machine. That's what this refers to. A 64-bit Dell computer, to be precise. So it is also recommended that you install the modern Windows terminal, which provides a superior experience to the standard PowerShell and command prompt, as well as a WSL prompt should you want it. Alright, well, let's follow their instructions here. So this is not what I was expecting. You can install it by searching on the Windows Store or running the following winget command. So let's run the winget command. It doesn't say where, but I'm going to assume that I run that in PowerShell. So here's Windows PowerShell. And this is my computer. It says install the latest PowerShell for new features and improvements. Let's do that first. Control click. Okay, migrating from, installing from. It'd be nice to have a nicer upgrade path. I'm assuming I'm in PowerShell 5 right now. I don't know how to tell what version. How do I tell what version of PowerShell I have? Enter the command $PS version table. Okay. $PS version table. Let's try to spell that correctly now. Right, PowerShell version 5.1. So I wish there was just a way to like upgrade just a command, upgrade PowerShell, but no. No, we can't have nice things like that. Alright. Installing PowerShell 7, okay. And so deploy using the MSI or the zip. Deploying the MSI requires admin. I should have admin on my own computer. Okay. Or you may install it using the Windows Store or winget. Let's try the Windows Store, because that might actually be a bit better. So Windows Store, where would that be? Windows Tools? I'm just kind of searching. You can't really see what I'm searching there. Alright. So down here, searching for Windows Store. So you see I don't see it here, so I tried Windows Tools, and there's a lot of tools but no store. Windows System, nope. There's PowerShell, variety of them. See, it also wants me to restart my computer. Where do you find the Windows Store? It's never come up before. Alright, let's put E back in the corner there. There is the Windows Store. In the search box, type Windows Store. Okay. Again, that's under my picture here, so I'll just type Windows Store. And it comes up as Microsoft Store, I guess. I guess this is it. Move myself back down here. Alright, now what was I going to be searching for? PowerShell 7. Okay. Okay, PowerShell. It just says get. Doesn't tell me what the version is. Okay, here we go, version 7. Let's get it. And starting download. The reason why I'm using the Windows Store is just, you know, when you're working with especially a proprietary system, it's probably a better idea to follow how the proprietary system does things. So we'll open it. Okay. Alright, there's PowerShell 7. Now let's see. Okay. Scrolling down here again. Now I'm just looking for PowerShell. Okay. And what about if I just, it looks like it just replaced the existing PowerShell. Nope. See, they're different. Okay, so I need to, I want to, I'm just going to, well, I'm going to unpin it. I'm not going to bother uninstalling it because I think that might be overkill. Okay, so now PowerShell. Yeah, it removes the whole subdirectory. Now I'm going to pin it. And we'll put it back in its place here. And I'll just test that by clicking on it. PowerShell 7. Okay, so now I'm officially using PowerShell 7. 5 is in there somewhere. If I ever need it, I could probably find it. Alright. Back to Podman. Okay. So. Alright, so that's the prerequisite. It's recommended to now. Alright. Install Microsoft Windows Terminal, which I think is something different again entirely. So let's open up PowerShell. And let's do this. That's probably also in the store, right? Let's just check. It's called Microsoft Windows Terminal. Windows Terminal app. Okay, so it says version. This product should work on your device. Isn't that nice? Alright, let's do it here. Okay. Found an existing package already installed. No available upgrade found. Okay. Windows terminal emulator. And it's going to give me the Bing result. Well, I wonder if this is it. Nothing happened. Oh, there we go. And that's the old PowerShell. So, no. Alright, let's see. Windows PowerShell, Windows Tools. Let's search for terminal. Terminal app, okay. It's the old PowerShell. As well as the WSL prompt should you want it. Alright. So this is, oh, that's the old PowerShell that I was messing with. Alright, let's see. PowerShell. WSL as a prompt. Yeah, there it is. Terminal. WSL as a prompt. Which is PowerShell 5. There it is. Fine. They're the same. Whatever. Okay, installing Podman. That's an awful lot of stuff. Oh, hi Mark. How are you doing? Still no audio? It records that I'm producing audio. Let's test that. Testing 1, 2. Testing 1, 2. No, there's audio. Oh well. It's a little bit faint. I'll boost it up a bit, but there's definitely audio. There, that'll make it a bit louder. So, okay, sorry I missed you, Mark. There is audio. I know there's audio. Because I just saw it. Now let's go to the YouTube page itself, and we'll test it there. So, your channel. Your channel. There we go. Channel. There we go. No, it works. There we go. No, it works. And it's going to continue into infinite regress, so I'll just kill that. Alright, back to what we were doing. Scared me there, Mark. Alright, installing Podman. Okay, the Windows installer is built with each Podman release and can be downloaded from the official GitHub release page. It offers me a link. Here we go. The 5.2.1. There's a bunch of different stuff, but I recognize the .exe as Windows. We're going to go with that. There's the Windows installer. I'll run the Windows installer. Welcome to Podman Setup. Install WSL. See, they didn't need all of this crap, right? Because the installer will just install WSL if not present. My goodness. Do I want to allow? Yes, I do. Okay, let's make the changes. So, what's my motivation? Hi, Buddha Hut. What's my motivation for trying an alternative? Can you confirm that you're getting sound, first of all? Secondly, well, I like the idea that it's open source and therefore more or less free. I also, in the description where I originally read about it, it sounded like I could use Docker containers with it and vice versa. So it's not so much a replacement as an alternative. And finally, I was curious. Mostly I was curious. Alright, installation successfully completed. Open, guide, and close. Okay. That's kind of an odd instruction. Podman for Windows. Okay, so we've opened the guide. Okay. And this actually looks a lot like what we had back here. Whatever, I'll just stick with the guide that they gave me. Yeah, this is all the same instructions I've already been following. Okay. Okay. Oh, I see what we have to do. Okay, it's a little unclear here, but okay, automatic WSL installation. Okay, so next, after WSL is installed, the init command will install a minimal installation of Fedora, customizing it to run Podman. So I believe that what I need to do here is run this command, podman machine init. It doesn't actually say run the command podman machine init. You really have to be pretty interpretive here. But I'm pretty sure that that's what I need to do. If nothing else, nothing can be harmed by doing it. So I'll start up PowerShell and enter the command and see what happens. I mean, you can't break it by running it twice, right? That would be really stupid. Okay. So, extracting compressed files. One of the nice things about having a fiber internet connection is I can do these live videos and it doesn't take forever to download files. Okay, import in progress. Okay, so okay, now to start your machine. Oh, I see, this is what I should expect to see, more or less. Configuring system. Okay, notice there's some differences here between what I got and what they did. Actually quite a few differences. Machine init complete. It did not save a public-private key pair. Let's hope that's not an issue. To start your machine, Podman machine start. So let's start the machine. The machine is currently configured in rootless mode. Okay. So, and I can set that to root full, and this is the same instruction that we see here in the guide. So that's good. I like getting the same result that we see in the guide. When we get different results, I get nervous. Okay, API forwarding. Okay. Docker API clients default to this address. You do not need to set Docker host. That's nice. At this point in the process, I don't know what that means, but that's nice. I love this. If your containers require root permissions, e.g. ports less than 1024. Right. This example really doesn't help someone like me. I mean, I can figure it out, right? You need root permission in order to use ports less than 1024. But you didn't need to say that here. All you need to do is say, if your containers require root conditions, here's the thing. Don't be so verbose. Okay, never mind. First, that's, by the way, a really common thing with instructions. The person writing the instructions offers much more information in the instruction than is actually needed to follow the instruction. And all they do is muddy the water, right? If it comes up, then I'll need the help. But if it's not immediately pressing, I don't need the help right now. Okay. First, Podman commands. From this point on, Podman commands operate similarly, I would hope the same, but similarly to how they would on Linux. Okay, so for a quick working example with a small image, you can run a Linux date command on PowerShell. Okay, let's do that. Run EBI microdate. Now, what should happen? I mean, we'll see the result, but I mean, what should happen in the background? It should run a container that produces that date. Yeah, here we go. See, here, yeah, here, they ran the command, they simply got a date. What I get, because it's my first Podman command, right, is it resolved UBI8 micro as an alias. It's going to try to pull the container from the container store, which is on Red Hat, getting the image source signatures to verify I'm getting the right container. Here we go, copying the blob with the signature, configuring it, writing it to my destination, storing the signatures, and then it'll produce the output. Right? Not this, this. Okay. Port forwarding also works as expected. Okay. So this is really, really, really assuming that you've already run Docker and that you're doing this as an alternative. Kind of makes sense that you would assume that, but okay. So port forwarding, if you don't know what that is, I have a container, a virtual computer inside my computer. My virtual computer has ports. That's just like my computer has ports. The ports connect me to the outside world. If I ran a website on my main computer, the website would be available on port 80, or 8080, or 443, or whatever. Right? Probably port 80. Or, well, if it's SA, never mind. We'll just say port 80. Right? So if somebody accesses my computer and requests port 80, and if I have a web server running, it'll deliver a web page. But my virtual computer inside my computer It also exposes a port, but my virtual computer is accessible only to me, not to the outside world. So port forwarding allows me to associate a port in my virtual computer with a port on my main computer, so that when somebody accesses the port on my main computer, they're actually accessing the virtual computer. That's what this is doing. So my virtual computer is offering port 80, I think. I always get these backwards. So. And my main computer is making that available on port 80. So this is running something. I'm not sure what it's running. I'm actually not sure what it's running. Maybe this image, I guess. Yeah, trying to pull Docker.io, getting the image source, and we're copying all the elements of the source, and then we're writing it. Okay, so we haven't actually tested our port. The curl command against localhost. Oh, okay, so 8080 is the port that's being made available on my main computer. Port 80 is the port that's being made available on my Podman computer. So curl is just a way of getting a web page or any internet resource. So let's see what we get. Enter proxy password. That's not what it says here for user. It works, okay. Let's see. Now, I don't know why it asked for a proxy password, but let's see now. If I go here in my web browser, 8080, this will access port 80 from my container. There it is. Didn't ask for a password.
This one being at the Australian Open to Matteo Berrettini.
Oh, crap.
And let's not forget he had a match point as well in the final last year.
Something is started up on its own. I hate it when things do that. Well, where is it? Also, I hate tennis.
40 club.
Stupid. Never mind. I hate. All right. You already know what I hate. You don't need to hear it again. Okay. So, it does work. And basically, based on my own experience, it works just like Docker. Let's come back here. As with Linux, to stop, okay, stop, Podman stop HTTPD. Oh, okay, here it is, right. So here's our command. We gave it the name HTTPD, and then we obtained it from that source. Could be clearer, but that's fine. I understand it. That's the main thing. So now I'll stop. I'm stopping not the web server. I'm stopping the entire virtual container. And now it's stopped. And you see if I try to access localhost 8080 again, well, I shouldn't get anything. Okay, that's better. Got worried there for a second. All right, using API forwarding. Okay. API forwarding allows Docker API tools and clients to use Podman as if it was Docker. Okay, this is that compatibility I mentioned earlier. Provided there is no other service listening on the Docker API pipe. In other words, provided I'm not actually running Docker right now, no special settings will be required. So let's try. Okay. So this is a Docker command. Run the Fedora image, I guess. Nope. The term Docker is not recommended. Right, because I'm not in the Docker directory. Okay, so I need to find Docker exe. Why would I expect Docker exe to be in the current directory? That's craziness. That's just a silly mistake in the documentation. Alright, so let's find Docker. I do have Docker installed. Let's search for Docker exe. Okay. Open file location. So here's where it is. So I'll just copy that. And now, instead of running this command, there you see, I'm running the full domain name, or the full domain name, the full file name, and this should work unless the space in program files is a problem. It's certainly a problem for the color formatter, so no, yeah, I see it didn't like that. Okay, so let's cd program files. Okay, cd. I forget. No. How do I do that? There is a way. How do I cd to C program file in PowerShell? Need to put the path in, okay, if it contains space. Alright, that didn't work. Oh, right, okay, because cd c colon backslash. There we go. And now I can put the rest of this in. And there are no more spaces in my file name. This should run. System cannot find. Alright, let's just go all the way to Docker. Docker. CD resources. CD bin. Docker exe is here. Okay. Alright, here we go. This is the one that should have worked. Still can't find it. System cannot find the file specified. See Docker run help. See, this is the thing with Stephen follows instructions. Oh, Buddha Hat was commenting. Crap. Yeah, you did it using ChatGPT, sure. Yeah, it's defining a relationship between. Yeah. All right. And then he left. But all of that was useful help. I kind of wish he'd stayed, but I can understand if he was frustrated with me not responding to what he had to say there. If so, Buddha Hat, I'm sorry. My apologies. I do tend to get wrapped up in this. Okay. Especially because now I've hit what for me is an actual genuine problem. I could use your help here, but you're done. Okay. So otherwise, okay. After starting the machine, you'll be notified of an environment variable you can set for tools to point to Podman. Alternatively, you can shut down both the conflicting service and Podman and finally run Podman. Okay, now we did not get that error. We did get the Podman end pipe thing though, didn't we? I'm not sure. No, I don't see it. Oh, there it is. Listening on end pipe, pipe, Docker engine. Docker API clients default to this address. You do not need to set Docker host. Okay. Maybe I'm running Docker. Shouldn't be, but task manager. I am running Docker. Docker desktop service. So let's stop this. Okay. Now let's try running my command again. Don't really have a whole lot of faith in this, but nope, still. It's funny that the first instinct was to recommend ChatGPT there, and he's quite right. You know, ChatGPT will make a lot of stuff simple. Of course, I'm not assessing whether I can do it. I'm assessing the instructions. No results found. Okay. Okay, here we go. Restarting Docker desktop on Windows Linux. Maybe I do have to be running Docker. I don't know. Okay, let's run Docker. Okay, that didn't run Docker. Okay, let's run. See, this also is why I wanted an alternative to Docker. Docker desktop. That's Docker desktop. Oh. Access is denied. Aha. Aha. So I'm having the same problem with Docker. Why is access denied? Run search again. This has affected quite a few. I had to completely uninstall Docker. Upgraded to 4.25.0 and it was resolved. Okay, let's try upgrading Docker. So we'll just go to Docker. It has been a while since I've run Docker. And Docker. So just quit Docker. Docker desktop. Oops, come back here. Get started. Huh, it's exactly the same sort of thing. Alright. Explore areas of Docker. Should have just downloaded Docker desktop. Launch Docker desktop. That'll probably produce the error again, right? I don't know. Nothing happens. If nothing happened, you may need to download Docker desktop. Okay, let's Alright. Run it. This should overwrite any old installation, so if the problem continues to be a problem, it'll deproblemify. So we'll run Docker. So that's a bit of an odd one, but this is the sort of thing that, yes, do you want to replace your current version with the new one? Yeah. See, I was on 4.31, this is 4.32, so it's not a big version jump. But, yeah. So we're just waiting for this to happen now. Still feel badly that Buddha hat left. I feel guilty because like I had an audience of one person and I let that person down. At least I did verify independently that my audio was working. So we're still waiting for Docker Desktop 4.32.0 to install. This whole episode, by the way, is taking way longer than I thought it would. Because, you know, I was running off the official documentation. And, you know, there's Podman for Windows. You just install and run and it works. That's usually the way these things happen. But when you enter the world of Linux, that doesn't always happen. Because there's just so many more different things that can happen in a Linux environment. And I realize this isn't per se a Linux problem, but you know, it's kind of like a Linux problem where, you know, there was this specific problem with a specific pipe in a specific version, and you know, it's something that you might never notice. Well, it is kind of weird, right? It's just like Docker itself is just simply broken. Like, how does that happen? So, still doing a whole bunch of stuff. Okay, installation succeeded. Close. Alrighty. Now, Docker Desktop. This should run the new version. And it's still a problem. Let's reset to factory defaults. Close this dialog and then restart. Okay. Now let's try. Waiting in suspense. What will happen? Nothing. Well, now I'm puzzled. Is it even running? It says it sort of is. Maybe it's trying to run and not running? I don't know. Huh. 87% of memory. It's doing something. 19% of CPU, 19% of memory, and yet I see nothing. Let's try this again. Okay, still the same problem. Well, this is something I can't fix, not probably without rebooting my computer, and which I can't really do in the middle of a webcast, so we're just going to ignore all of this. Because that's what I would do next, right? I'd just reboot the computer and it would probably work. So we'll come back to this and move on. Okay, Podman machine set root full. Okay, we've covered that. Volume mounting. Okay, so what this means, so come back down here. Where was I to start? Well, let's just close this and we'll just open a new one. And that puts me back where I was. It's probably not the best place to open, but alright. So now I'm going to run a container called UBI8 micro and see how we have port forwarding here using my folder, and that maps to my folder. So I'll hit enter. Now there's no user my folder, right? So we come back here. I'm probably actually going to have to make one. Yeah, let's again, right? There's no users called user. Right? This is a bad example. What really we want, I'm going to go in here and I guess I'll have to go, I'll have to use the C just to keep things simple. Where did it say C? Users. Right? There's no username users. The username Steph. That's me. S-T-E-P-H. So let's try that. Still no such folder. Let's try creating the folder. New folder. Oh, my folder. Right. And there we go. no problem, right? I wonder if it put anything into my folder. No, nothing at the moment. So, clearly, right, this is important. This folder needs to exist for volume mounting to work. So the idea here is that this folder, user stuff my folder, if I put content in it, it's available in the Docker container. Although you probably shouldn't do it that way. More importantly, if I create content using my Docker container, it's available here. So it does provide, it's a way for my virtual container to have some persistent storage that it can come back to even when I turn off my virtual machine. Okay. Unixy Windows paths. Important to note, this --rm does not mean remove, I don't think. I wonder what it does mean. I wonder if I can figure that out. Podman. Alright, here we go. Options, command. So where's the commands? I don't see an RN here anywhere. Doesn't say. Maybe run minimized, something like that. I wonder if ChatGPT does know the answer to that. Oh, automatically remove the container when it exits. Alright, there we go. So it does sort of mean remove, but okay. Yeah, ChatGPT really is. It's such a help. I haven't been using it in these episodes of Stephen Follows Instructions, but but I have been using search and any other tool I can figure things out for when I have a problem. So yeah. Okay, listing Podman machines. So Podman machine LS. I think I have one running. Oh, just a Podman machine default currently running. Okay. Notice I had one running. I guess. Oh, okay, that's the machine that runs Podman. Got it. Alright. Accessing a Podman Linux environment. So I think basically, I wonder, no, it's not quite like that. But yeah, I think basically what's happened here is for Podman to run on Windows, it sets up a virtual machine into which Podman is running. Okay, and here we go, user at alien. So I'm inside my Podman machine. Okay, that's kind of cool. Using SSH to pull down a load of bug fixes, etc. using the WSL command. When it enters the shell, it's root first. Okay, I don't know why I'm being told all this. Using Windows Terminal integration. Stopping a pod machine, removing a Podman machine. Okay. Installing a certificate authority, and we get an error because the link here isn't the same as the link in our existing instructions. Get started, I think, was it. Nope. Documentation. Nope. Gonna be the installation instructions, I believe. Nope. Okay. I want an actual. I'd like to run an actual. Well, I guess I did sort of run an actual web server. All right, let's go. Podman. Search. What do I want? WordPress. Okay. So, there's an image. So, now. Find. We'll come back up here. Okay, Podman run. I just want to run. I don't want to do anything fancy with port sharing or well, I do want ports. Okay, here we go. This might work or it might not. It should work. Okay, Podman. Run. RM, because I don't want to Linux compatible. Okay. D to detach it. Do the port forwarding. Name, we'll just call it WordPress. And then my image. Now that should work. I'll just show you the whole command. I think it's going off the screen a bit there. Let's try. Alright. Big download for WordPress. Okay. I should have WordPress on 8080. Let's try it. Ta-da! Isn't this freaking cool? Database name, username, password, database host, prefix, net. Okay, try again. So, yeah. seem to have a database. So, like with Docker, for WordPress, I'd probably run something like a Docker Compose, and set up my WordPress and my database so that instead of database host, I might put host with a port number. Let's try localhost 8080, see if that works. Are you sure you have a database server? Well, I'm pretty sure I don't. So, but anyhow, probably should have picked something simpler. But anyhow, that's the basics of Podman. Podman PS. There's the WordPress that's running. Podman. Stop WordPress. It should stop it, and it should also have removed the image. Not all those downloaded files, right? Just the image itself, which is a great big whacking file. And now when I do Podman PS, WordPress should no longer be running. It is not running. We are good. Alright, I'm going to end it here. Kind of weird with that Docker thing. That really was the biggest problem with this. Podman itself works. You know, I don't think we even needed the whole Docker thing in the instructions. Really. And I think that advice, putting in, put a prompt through ChatGPT asking for condensed instructions on installing and configuring Podman for Windows, and its output is good. That's really good advice. It's almost as though we don't really need the instruction page anymore. Although I think we kind of do still, because if they don't actually write the instruction page, how's ChatGPT going to figure it out? Here's how to find your first container image. Containers 101, etc. Container engine, container host, whatever. Right. That's it for this episode. If I ever decide to do stuff on Podman again, we'll pick this up. But in the meantime, I can use Podman to run Docker containers instead of using Docker. I think that's really useful. Although to access it from the access the container from the Docker repository, it may be the case that you have to have a Docker subscription, which I do, right? So I forget. I think it's like $5 a month or something, but it's just another expense. All right, that's it for this episode of Steven Follows Instructions. Thank you for joining me, or for stopping by temporarily and joining me and then leaving. Here's my results. We'll see you next time. Bye for now.